The first thing that I want to talk about are the kind of design characteristics. So how an anime style is designed, kind of the main visual things that you will see when you look at an anime. The first one of those basic design things is cell shading. What cell shading means is, if you look at, Luffy, for example, he has a very sharp distinction between the light and the shadow. And that's kind of what cell shading is. If you have, like, for example, a sphere in 3D and you light it from the top, you have like a very, very fine gradient that goes from very light to, the shadow. But in anime, you kind of just draw the distinction between light and shadow. There isn't really any gradients in here. And that's kind of what you would describe as cell shading. You can see it right here. You can see it in Luffy. And you can also see it, of course, in this one. The second one that you basically always have is some kind of line art. Sometimes it's more simple, like this one. I think it would be like the most traditional one, which is kind of like even line thickness here. And then kind of going around all the shapes to first of all define the silhouette of any object or any element basically in the scene to distinguish it more from the rest. Here you can see it has line art too, but this one, for example, you can see it has like an orange big thick line art as well as a colored line art right here. So this one, for example, just plays around with the line art a little bit by giving it different colors, for example, but all of them have line art. Another one that kind of applies to most anime is anatomy. So if you want to create an animal, you want to generally follow that animal's anatomy to make it look like that animal. And anime kind of does the same, where if they want to create humans, they follow basic human anatomy for the body, and then they kind of play around with the face. The face is a bit more stylized than the body. The body is pretty realistic most of the time, like, we have like the chest here and the abs right here and the rib right here and bicep, whatever. This always stays the same. It might be a bit stylized, like, like the hands or the fingers, or like generally it might be simplified or stylized a bit, but it still follows the basic human anatomy. The face though is much more stylized than the rest, and there you have like all like the face is kind of where you have like the creative freedom, I guess, that you can see between different anime. Something else that you can see visually is when it comes to animation, I'm going to show you a clip right here, is that if things are very animated, so they move very fast, they're generally more simple. So if you have a character that generally, if they're just standing, has a bit more details in their outfit or whatever, once they're moving, they're going to be drawn much simpler. And that is just because if you have like to draw all these complex and like fast moving scenes and generally just have to create so many different frames, you're going to make it simpler just so you can go through them faster. That's just like something that anime tries to do. The same thing happens when things get far away from the camera. They also get simpler. Just because you can't draw as much detail as you could in like a close-up. So something that you could also consider for your 3D model, if it's further away, or if it moves fast, to just kind of simplify the model a little bit to kind of adopt this simplification for productivity's sake or efficiency's sake. And then the last thing is just like very exaggerated poses, exaggerated expressions, close-up foreshortening, or extreme expressions, extreme like eye open, mouth open. Like these are things that you oftentimes also see as visual like characteristics of anime. If you want to learn more about 3D anime, make sure to check out my free 3D anime course here on YouTube. In there, I basically try to condense all the information that I have gathered over the last 2.5 years of creating my projects and learning things and researching things and testing things basically. And I've tried to put it all into this one course for free, which you can see and find on YouTube. So if you're curious about that and want to learn more and go more in depth in creating your own 3D anime, for example, make sure to check out the description where you'll find the link to it. Otherwise, I guess you can also just enjoy more of these clips if you want. So yeah, do whatever you want.